apologize, everyone. We really did run through this numerous times, but not with live people. So thank you for everybody being here and giving us some grace.
Okay, so it tells us we're recording. Go for it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany. So welcome to our first ever GT Table Talk. Today's topic is, my child is gifted, now what? We're so happy you're joining us today for some information. Our best hope is that you come away from today's meeting with a little bit better understanding of your gifted child. And I know Tiffany asked you all to type in the chat your names and emails so that we can share all the resources with you today. And we're also going to include a follow-up survey to get some information for future table talks. And so what I'd like to do now is I would like the GT team to introduce themselves. So if you are present, we're going to have you introduce yourself. I'll start. I'm Jody Mueller, and I am the Gifted and Talented Specialist at Jackson, Romero, K8, Shawsheen, and Scott.
And I am Tiffany Beecher, and this year I'm serving as a specialist at ECA, Early College Academy, Brentwood Middle School, and Prairie Heights Middle School.
I'm Danae Rosso. Oh, sorry.
It's like, who's next? I'm Pam Smith, and I'm the GT specialist at Chapelo K through 3, Dos Rios, Hyman, Meeker, and Maplewood.
I'm Danae Rosso. I'm at Fred Chartis, Montfort, Winograd, Chapelo 4 through 8. And for those of you that have students who are in remote learning, whichever homeschool they have, we are also servicing them as well. So we'll be your person if that's whoever you're connected to, if that makes sense.
My name is Amy Grafey, and I am the gifted specialist at Greeley Central High School this year.
My name is Gary Shaver, and I'm the gifted specialist at West, Heath, Gap, and Jefferson.
And we have Julia Rivera. She is our interpreter, so she would not be able to unmute herself and chime in on this main channel. The interpretation works a little differently. And somebody help me, what schools does she have this year?
Madison, Maplewood, McAuliffe K8, and Martinez, Billy Martinez.
Perfect.
I think I got them all.
I just got a message from Linda Johnson that she just got kicked out and is not able to log back on. But Linda Johnson is the gifted and talented specialist at Franklin and Northridge. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Technology does wonderful things. Perfect. So for today's meetings, we just have a few norms we wanted to shoot through really quick, just to keep everybody moving forward and to keep it on a nice even playing field. Do we keep your questions and comments general? We are recording this, so we really do need you to refrain from using names of students, schools, or teachers. Those are questions that you definitely could follow up with your GT specialist on if you have something specific. But we're going to keep questions general and for the good of the group for today. Be open to new learning, be open to different ways of thinking, be willing to take specific questions, like I said, to your specialist. And just keep in mind this session is being recorded for those who can't attend today, so we want to make that a productive moment for them as well.
So take a look at the cartoon. I guess the reason it struck me funny, and maybe it's funny in a sad way, or I don't know, is that when you look at our students and you think about our students are not just gifted when they're at school. They're not just gifted for part of their day. And so our students, the students that are gifted, are always seeing the world through their own unique lens. As parents, you know that your child has special gifts, and we want you to know we are going to support them, and we know that they need support. they may need fewer repetitions of something at school, but they do need our support. And the gifted and talented specialist, we will help the teachers, help the school, we'll work with parents to make sure that they get the best of what we have to offer.
Oh, that's me. So our goal for you today, like she said earlier, is to leave with a better understanding of what giftedness is. The big picture, the gifted brain has a higher minimum speed. It works on a different plane. It definitely works outside of what we're comfortable with from day to day, but it's unique and it's amazing. They need us to speed up their learning, or sometimes they need us to slow down with the rest of the class. They want to come across to others. They don't want to, sorry, my notes are leaving me today. So sometimes going slow with the rest of the class. They want to have that cohesion, but they want to be able to connect, and they want to be able to keep going, and they want to be able to get what they want to come to school to learn. And so that's our goal today, is to help you understand that and to move forward with that.
So what is giftedness? So by definition, people who are gifted have above average intelligence and or superior talent for something. This could be an academic area like reading or math, or artistic, maybe visual arts or sculpture, or music, or have outstanding leadership abilities, even athletic abilities that are above and beyond. One of the things I want to address, and you can read the slide, we're not going to read the slides to you, but our gifted students really need intellectual peers. And I think that's one thing that the specialist can help with, is making sure that they have like peers to communicate with, because sometimes they struggle to find this peer in the regular classroom. So other students that have higher level thinking abilities are the students that we want them to work with.
So just like the cartoon suggested earlier, gifted students are not just gifted during their school day. As we all know, as parents of gifted students, it travels home with them. It is 24/7 for them, and it shows itself in very unique and different ways from time to time. On this slide, you'll notice that gifted and talented students come to school from everywhere. We, District 6, celebrate students from all racial and ethnic and cultural populations, as well as a number of different income levels. So really, those factors don't stop a gifted student from being a gifted student. Sometimes it takes us looking at it in a different way and going about it differently to identify it, and working with teachers differently. But really, it is not a one-size-fits-all category. Each of us have kiddos that are drastically different from your neighbor in the box to your left or to your right. And so we really want to embrace that and celebrate that it's just such a wide variety of individuals.
So we look at, all of us are assigned many buildings, and one of the things that we do is we're always looking for students with gifts and talents. And so if you look at this list, these are the ways that we find that specific talent of each individual child. So the first bullet there is general or specific intellectual ability. So GIA would be that general, but then down below you could see it could be something specific, like my child is gifted in reading, but not math. Or sometimes we ID a student in math and find out a year later they're also gifted in reading. So we are constantly looking at our student bodies at all of our schools and looking for other things besides just academics. We're also looking for creativity and how students are thinking and solving problems. We also look at their leadership abilities, especially as they get older into secondary schools. And I'm really excited because a couple members of our team, the GT team, are heading up visual arts coming soon. We have reached out to all of the art teachers in District 6, K-12, and we're hoping to really look at student work in the visual arts, and then we will do the music end of the arts also this year. And then coming soon will also be our athletic ability, which would be our psychomotor, so students with superior athletic ability as well. So let's talk about some of the myths about gifted students, and parents, you know, and you've maybe heard some of these myths, and we're hoping today that we can debunk some of those myths around gifted students.
So I want you to take a few minutes and just look at just a few of the examples we have posted here on this slide. And while you're reading them, I want you to ask yourself, have you ever bought into any of these myths? Have you ever, oh, my child's gifted, they'll be fine with that task? I'm gonna be honest, with my kiddo at home, I have asked what I thought was a simple task, and it totally blows his mind on how to complete it. And I bought into that, he's a smart kid, he should be able to figure it out. And I have to stop myself and remember that they still need to be taught those skills somewhere and somehow. And so that's one of those myths that I unfortunately did buy into for a small amount of time. And I have to stop myself and remind myself that they are still kids. That frontal lobe still is not fully developed. So take a second and look through that list. No, this is just a small portion of myths when it comes to the gifted and talented world. There are many more you can find, and many more I'm sure your kids come home and tell you about. That's our goal. One goal this year we have is to start breaking some of these myths. And I know as specialists, we every year work on that. So know that it's not something we allow to continue. When we hear it, we do our best to stop it.
We are definitely a small but mighty team. So we really work with teachers to debunk those myths. I want to talk a little bit about high achiever and gifted. As you can see from the table here, again, in this presentation, we're not giving you all of the information, but just touching on some that we all felt pretty passionate about. Sometimes a gifted learner does have the qualities of a high achiever. Sometimes. But that can be a myth, like we discussed on the last slide. Gifted children don't fit in a box, and oftentimes they're not a teacher pleaser. And so sometimes, right, it can be hard for the teacher to see a child as gifted, and that's what the specialists do, is we help the teacher see what we see. And so I want to remind you again that we're going to share this slide presentation with you and all of our resources in the email, so that we can, so that you can see the full list. You know, we felt passionate about these because there's a difference between being interested in something like the high achiever, but really being curious about it and almost, you know, just immersing themselves in something that is interesting to them. So I'm going to transition to the next slide, which is, what can I expect for my GT student? And your child is unique and special, and as a child who's gifted, they have many social, emotional, and academic needs, and the GT specialists are here to help.
So as you can see on the screen, this is just a few of what our specialists do with our students. But I want you to take a look at that and know that we continuously check in, whether that's virtually, whether that's through email, whether that's through phone call, or whether that's face-to-face when we can without creating too much havoc within their day. We make referrals to counselors or social workers because, again, we're not just working on their academic needs, we are here for their social and emotional needs as well. So sometimes we'll, you know, have conversations with them and get snippets of something that maybe is outside of our field to cover, but we do have resources that help them with that. Helping them find their individual passion, their individual interest areas. I got to have some conversations with high schoolers today that I said, well, what are you thinking about after high school? They're like, I have no clue. I don't know what I want to do. So, you know, it's those conversations we get to have and help them realize what it is they want to do after high school. Sometimes that looks like interest inventories, simple conversations, just other things we get to do. But we really have the goal of helping your child realize their full potential. And we know that's a team effort. We know that's something that the parents are helping with. We know that's something that teachers help with. So it is a team effort that we all want to work together to achieve.
I like to think about GT specialists as being the bridge. So this slide speaks specifically for high school because high school students have unique needs like Tiffany had touched on as far as support with what happens after high school, you know, or what are the opportunities available to me at high school. So this breaks down just even further. So high school kids get everything that was on the last slide and more because our specialists at the high school level really are aware of the opportunities and they make sure our students know about those. And that bridge is, we bridge between the many places your student goes in a day, like all the different teachers at the high school and even at the elementary, working with all of the teachers there. It is such a privilege to work with your students.
Sorry, I was looking at questions. Just know that Ms. Rosso is fielding questions. So if you do type questions into the chat box, she's taking those so that when we get to that question and answer portion, we can cover those.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah. So what are your rights as a parent of a gifted student? And what I really want you to keep in mind is that you are their biggest advocate. And without you, we're not able to help them reach their full potential because it does take a village. It does take everybody working together. But you are by far their biggest advocate. So know that you have the right to reach out to teachers, to administration, to their specialists when you feel like there's something that needs to happen, something that's happening that doesn't need to happen. It's a world of communication, and if we're not communicating with one another, things are going to break down and we're not going to be moving forward in the direction we want to move forward into. So on the screen are just a few things. Again, you're their parent. You have the right to speak up for them. You have the right to be their voice when they don't know how to do that. We teach our children advocacy skills so that when they leave our house, they can be successful individuals. And so that sometimes means we have to step in and be their voice for them. So know that that is your right, and that's what makes this work so well. I think I can speak for all the specialists is that we love it when parents give feedback or parents, you know, chime in and have that conversation with us because you see things at home that we won't see at school and vice versa. So it does take everybody working together.
So I want to end the presentation portion. We'll go into the question and answer in a minute, but thanks for joining us. Take a look at the cartoon. It makes me giggle because oftentimes students, especially when they get older, don't necessarily want to feel different. So anyway, I thought that was a cute cartoon. We're going to stop recording now. If you have questions but need to get off, please reach out to your child's GT specialist. That's something else we will include in the email following today's presentation is a chart with all of the specialists and their assignments so that you know, because many of you have more than one student and you may need to talk to a gifted